Ferruccio Lamborghini was a prisoner of war. When he returned to Italy, he opened a small garage and converted military equipment into farming tractors. His timely inventor turned him to a millionaire, and later the inventor of the most talked about luxury sports car, Lamborghini. It all started with being told he was just farmer from Enzo Ferrari. In 1960, Ferruccio was born on a farm in the rural town of Renazzo in northern Italy. His parents grew grapes to make wine for a living and raised him amongst their vineyards. They taught him to roll up his sleeves and have to drive, make quality products. Ferruccio took their lesson to heart, but not in the way that they had hoped for or imagined. He was more interested in fixing the tractors than learning how to manage the farm. Along with being disappointing, it was considered risky to stay from the family business. Still, Ferruccio chose to explore his passion and studied mechanics at the Fratelli Taddia Technical Institute. To his father's dismay, Ferruccio never looked back after graduating. He started training with a master blacksmith who shared all of his ironworking and welding secrets. But it wasn't enough to impress a major factory that he had his eyes set on, Cavalier Righi in Bologna. At the time, the factory worked on maintaining the Italian army vehicles. The strong and stubborn Ferruccio persisted and managed to convince the owner to hire him. When he turned 18, he left and returned to his hometown, Renazzo. There, he opened a workshop with his longtime friend Mariano Filippini. It wasn't until years later that he would discover it was the first step towards turning his passion into an empire. But first, he would have to escape the clutches of his captors. When the Second World War hit, Ferruccio was torn away from his carefree life. He was drafted by the Royal Italian Air Force and was assigned to work as a mechanic at the garrison in Rhodes Island, Greece. 2 years later, Italy surrendered. Afterward, the German force took over the garrison and evicted the Italians. Ferruccio decided to stay and asked for the permission to open his own workshop. 2 years later, the Allied force arrived. They took everyone in the garrison as prisoner, including Ferruccio. When they discovered his technical aptitude, they got him to work on fixing their vehicles. 1 year later, they allowed him to leave. Ferruccio's years back home were far from blissful. His wife Clelia passed away, while giving birth of their only child, Tonino. Afterwards, Ferruccio kept himself busy at his workshop, where he mostly fixed pre-war vehicles, lorries and tractors. But one day, he received an urgent request from his father that changed the course of his life. "I need a new tractor," Ferruccio's father requested. It was then that Ferruccio was struck with a realization. Italy desperately needed to increase its agricultural production to recover from the war, but it needed better equipment to make them possible. Armed with experience in working with Allied and Axis vehicles, Ferruccio bought leftover military equipment and used them to make new tractors. They were built with an old British Morris engine and modified to run on cheap diesel instead of expensive petrol. They were said to be more affordable and innovation than anything anyone had seen before. Later, Ferruccio started a new company called Lamborghini Tractors. While his tractors were in demand, he needed more capital for production, so his father used his farm's collateral for a loan. Teresa, Ferruccio and his father took pay in more ways than both of them could have imagined. Soon after, the company became one of the largest manufacturer of its kind in Italy. Ferruccio celebrated his success with good food, fine wine and fast cars. He even started to collect Jaguars, Mercedes, Maseratis and Ferraris, but none of them completely satisfied him. He was particularly disappointed with his Ferrari 250 GT since the clutch would always break down. One day, he brought the Ferraris his mechanic for repairs. Ferruccio discovered that the clutch was identical to the one fitted onto one of his tractors. This didn't sit well with him since he paid €10 for the clutch his tractors used and paid Ferrari €1,000 for the same part. Later, he decided to tell Enzo Ferrari about the imperfection he found in his cars. Along with these clutches needing frequent repairs, they were considered too noisy and rough on the road. Enzo brushed Ferruccio off, and instead of problem wasn't with the car, but with him. "You are a tractor driver, a farmer. You should complain about my cars. They are the best in the world." "Yes, I'm a farmer, but I'll show you how a sports car should be." That day, Ferruccio went home determined to prove what he was capable of. Many called his conquest crazy and believed he would square and his fortune. Still, Ferruccio forged ahead and stressed a new company under his name. He hired 3 of Ferrari's 6 employees and bought a large plot of land built factory. In just 9 months, Ferruccio completed his first sports car featuring his theatrical sign as emblem, the Lamborghini 350 GT. It was considered a technical masterpiece, included a V12 engine, 5-speed transmission, 4-wheel disc brakes, and 4-wheel independent suspension. It was unveiled for the first time at the Turin Motor Show and praised by customers and critics. Ferruccio proved that Enzo, his doctors, that he wasn't just a farmer, but also a mechanical genius capable of building superior cars. The Miura became known as the world's first supercar, and its rear-mount engine later became the standard for all high-performance cars. From then on, Lamborghini Terrier continued its successful streak and developed more celebrated models: the Spada, the Aero, the Grama, the Oraco, and the Countach. They were said to superior other sports cars since they didn't use anyone else's part, and the Countach was said to be the most ridden about car in history. Unfortunately, Ferruccio's success came to half after facing a series of events beyond his control. A deal to supply Bolivia with 5,000 tractors was cancelled after the country faced a coup. The loss forced Ferruccio to sell his tractors company and 51% of his automobile Lamborghini's share. Later, the global stock market experienced a dramatic crash and the OAPEC started an oil embargo. It led to increased fuel prices and the automobile industry in the crisis. Known with the Ferruccio did his best to keep his business alive and managed to find buyers for his unsold tractors. Still, he decided to retire early and sold the remaining 49% of his automobile Lamborghini shares. But he did keep a heating company that he owned and gave it to son, Tonino. Later, Tonino pivoted toward building successful fashion and luxury business under the family name. Meanwhile, the new owners of automobile Lamborghini tried to revive its brand but failed. Afterwards, the company was forced into liquidation. A few years later, the Italian government sold it for $3 million to 2 French billionaires. They hoped to renovate the old Lamborghini facilities and hire new engineers, but they ran out of money and sold the company to Chrysler. Chrysler made plans to import the brand into the US, but failed to make a profit. They sold the company to an Indonesian conglomerate. While they had more luck in making sales, it wasn't enough to weather the financial crisis in Asia. It wasn't then Audi bought the company and recognized the need for greater attention, top classes, and product quality. Under their leadership, Lamborghini was able to meet the challenges of the 21st century and take back its place in the market. With the release of the Gallardo, Huracan, and Euro concept, sales jumped across the world, especially in the US. In 2019, Lamborghini reported the record sale and is now valued at $11 billion. This is the story of how farmer and prisoner of war turned his tractor business into a sport car empire. For more inspiring stories and advice from today's most successful leaders, don't forget to subscribe to our channel.